Today I am so excited because we are talking about somebody who was named Time's Person of the Year in 2023. We're talking about somebody who literally just broke the internet this past month when they posted their partner for the first time, and I think the first time like ever with any partner, on their social media feed. But not only was that iconic, but they posted the picture of their partner with them literally standing next to the royal family. Yes, I am talking about Taylor Swift. Today we are talking all things Taylor Swift, and I am so excited to dive on in because this is somebody that I've been wanting to do a deep dive on and somebody I wanted to share my perspective on in regards to being a therapist. So today we are talking all things Taylor Swift. Are you ready for it? Let's dive on in. So Taylor Allison Swift was born December 13th, 1989. I too am a 1989 girly, and we are 34 years old. She is the daughter of Scott and Andrea Swift, who we just have been loving seeing when it comes to her concerts. But honestly, they've literally been there since day one. And she's also the older sister of Austin Swift. Now, I didn't do too much digging into him. There's not a lot out there, and so that's really all I know. I think he chooses to be really private and kind of have his own life, which he has every right to. When your sister's literally the most infamous person in the world, he has a right to be like, yeah, I'm going to kind of step aside and do my own thing. So that is her family dynamic. Now, Taylor Swift was actually born and raised for the first couple of years in Pennsylvania, West Reading, Pennsylvania. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, she grew up on a Christmas tree farm, which I think is so cool and so fun. I love all things Hallmark Channel, especially around Christmas time. So for me, growing up on a Christmas farm just sounds so whimsical and magical. But it was pretty early on when Scott and Andrea realized, wait, Taylor is really passionate about this music thing. And I mean early on. She was young when she got her first guitar, but she was also young when she literally started writing lyrics and songs out of nowhere, it seemed. And so Andrea and Scott would go to Nashville every once in a while with Taylor and see if there's any kind of opportunities until they realized, you know what, this is something that we're going to invest in. This is something that she is so committed to, and we want to be just as committed. So instead of going back and forth between Pennsylvania and Tennessee, we're moving to Nashville, Tennessee, because obviously we all know, even to this day, I feel like Nashville, Tennessee is really well known for people who are wanting to make it big in the music world. Nashville, Tennessee is the capital of the music world, especially when it comes to country music. And at that time, that's what Taylor was pursuing, even at 13 years old. So at 14 years old, Taylor Swift is performing at the iconic Bluebird Cafe. And again, anybody who knows anything about country music or being big in country music, the Bluebird Cafe is pretty well known and pretty iconic as being a really small, intimate setting that people get invited to play at. And typically, there are people within the Bluebird Cafe audience who are ready to sign record deals for the next big thing. And when Taylor's 14 and she performed at the Bluebird Cafe, there was a guy by the name of Scott Borchetta, which I think that's how you say his name, but he was part of Big Machine Records, and he saw something in her and was like, yeah, we're going to sign her. There's something here, whether it's her ability to write songs or perform, whatever the case may be, we need to sign her. And so at 14 years old, this girl had a record deal, which is just crazy to me. So then in 2006, Taylor Swift releases her very first single, Tim McGraw. Now, I remember when this single came out, and I thought it was a bop. I loved it. It was cute, it was country, it was fun, it was simple, and it was just something I liked to listen to as I was learning to drive my first car. And so Tim McGraw was a single that came out off of her debut album, which is a self-titled album, Taylor Swift. And that album just skyrocketed. Not only did the single skyrocket, and it was the first Hot 100 song to chart, but the album ended up doing really well. A fun fact about the song Tim McGraw and the person Tim McGraw, around that time, Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, who I just think are an iconic couple, and I love them so much, but they were actually touring at the time. They had their Soul to Soul tour, which I wanted to go to that so bad. I love them so much. So they were touring at the time, and obviously at this time, Taylor Swift is starting to get recognition, but she's nowhere where she is now back then. And so she was opening for people. I think Rascal Flatts was somebody she opened for, Little Big Town, but she was actually asked by Tim McGraw and Faith Hill to come and open for them. So I think it's just cool that her first single to really do something was Tim McGraw off of her first album. She goes on tour with Tim McGraw and Faith Hill as an opening act. And then literally just a few years ago, so years down the road, she has Tim McGraw and Faith Hill come on her tour to make an appearance, which I just think is really cool and full circle. I think one thing I've noticed when researching and doing some reading on Taylor Swift is when people pour into her with pure intentions, when people are kind to her like Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, one thing I feel like she does well is she knows how to honor well. And I think we'll see that even throughout the different relationships that she has. Tim McGraw and Faith Hill took a chance and asked her to open up for them. And then years down the road, she remembers that and she honors that and says, hey, these people who are a big part of me launching my career, I never want to forget that, and I want to bring them onto my stage. And so I just think that's a really cool fun fact. So 2006, I feel like, is the year that Taylor starts to take off. So let's move to 2008, which is I think one of her first Grammys that she attends. And she's actually up for the Best New Artist of the Year, which is a really coveted Grammy, which obviously it's a Grammy, so anything is coveted and wonderful. But it's a big award that people obviously look forward to receiving. Now, in 2008, she was up for it. However, it did go to the very deserving, very iconic, I miss her so much, Amy Winehouse. And so Amy Winehouse got that award. But honestly, and obviously we all know, that was not the end at all for Taylor Swift. That's literally just the beginning. We move over to 2009, and then we have the iconic VMAs, which if you know, you know. Now, I remember watching this in college, like live, and I'm like, what just happened? At first, I thought it was a joke, and then I realized Kanye West does not joke like that. And so what happened is, if you don't know, the 2009 VMAs is happening, and Taylor Swift wins Best Female Video of the Year award, I believe it was. And so she gets announced as the winner, and she's going up, and all of a sudden she's about to like do her speech, which she's so excited, she's so young, and so just thrilled that she got nominated and then won. And literally Kanye West comes up, and at first she's excited because it's Kanye West, and this is peak Kanye West. This is like his graduation album and like peak Kanye West. And so she thought, you know, something fun and great was going to happen. Little did she know she was going to be humiliated and embarrassed by him, because what he does is he literally takes the mic from her hand and he says, I'm going to let you finish. I'm going to let you finish. But Beyonce had the best female video of all time. And the video pans to Beyonce, and she's like, oh my gosh, what is actually happening right now? And so, yeah, that moment was a little tainted, and obviously Taylor got her, moment after that. But yeah, that's what happened. So thankfully, when Beyonce won one of her many awards that night, she actually had Taylor Swift come back up here, because she's like, I know what it's like winning one of your first awards and being excited, and I want to make sure that she gets that time to be honored and to get recognized and embrace the moment that she was robbed from earlier. And so we love an iconic queen who supports another up and coming artist at the time. And so, again, that was a moment, I feel like, in history, in pop culture history, that was like, what just happened? So by 2010, she has another album that has just come out, the Fearless album, which is so good. I mean, who doesn't love Love Story? One of my favorites. It's just so cute and so good. Yes, even as a 34-year-old, I still love Love Story. So 2010 Grammys comes around, and this is where Taylor kind of like sweeps the Grammys. For winning like her first Grammy, that's great. But this girl did not win just one Grammy. She won 4 Grammys that night, including Best Country Album and Album of the Year, which is just iconic in itself. And so she ends up winning a whole bunch of Grammys in the 2010 Grammys. So between 2006 and 2012, all of her country albums come out. Again, she has her self-titled album, Taylor Swift. Then she has Fearless. Then she has Speak Now. And then she has her Red album. All great albums with great songs, and so many of those I think made a huge impact on a lot of preteens and teens and even young adults at the time. And honestly, I think they're still making an impact to this day with preteens, teens, and young adults. So then the year 2013 comes around, and all of a sudden there's kind of like a rumbling of, is Taylor Swift leaving country music? Because again, she went to Tennessee to pursue a country music career, and she was killing it in the country music career. Like, she was top of the top, winning at every CMAs and CMT awards and all those awards that you could win as a country artist. She was getting those. But 2013, I think she maybe started feeling a shift of country music is my roots and it's where my foundation was laid. But I feel like there's maybe more of a pop genre girly within me, and that's what she decided to do. So in 2014, her very first pop album, the iconic 1989 album, comes out. And this was a tour that I wanted to go on so bad because at the time, which we'll get into a little bit later, she had like her girl squad, and every tour or every day of the tour or every location of the tour, she had these iconic people just coming out on stage to join her. And I'm like, every time I saw a post, I'm like, no, why am I not at this tour? Why is she bringing out this person and I'm not seeing it? And so that's really a tour that just kind of lives rent free in my brain of like, man, I really wish I would have went to the 1989 tour. So anyway, 2014 is her very first pop album, the 1989 tour. And between 2014 and I believe 2020, she has quite a few pop albums that come out. So she has the 1989 album. She has the Reputation album. Speaking of the 2009 VMAs, if you know, you know, she kind of addresses it in that album. So she comes out with the Reputation album. Then she comes out with the Lover album, which is just a fun, poppy, colorful. I think after Reputation, she's like, I need a light and fun album, and that's definitely Lover. And then she comes out with Folklore and Evermore. And again, just good, iconic albums that she produces between 2014 and 2020. So something to note about Taylor's music career, which again, I think most of us know, but if you don't, I want to kind of break down because I do think this plays a huge part into who she is and what she's creating even now. In 2018, so going back a little bit, in 2018, she realized Big Machine Records is just not the place for her anymore, and so she decided to sign with Universal Music Group, which is just a quick connection. Sophia Richie, who is, I love her, Sophia Richie got married just like last year, the year before, to her husband, and her husband's father is like the CEO, owner, big guy of the Universal Group that Taylor just signed with that Taylor had signed with in 2018. So just a little fun connection there. But anywho, 2018 she makes that switch, and one of the things that the Universal record label got to give her was you have the rights to all of your material. So like anything that you write, anything that you do, it is yours 100%. She didn't have that with Big Machine Records. So basically what that means is with Big Machine Records, which most artists, especially when starting out, when they have songs come out, when they write songs, it can literally be distributed however the record label sees fit, whatever they want to do with it. And what Taylor was wanting with the new deal was, no matter what I write, like, it's mine, so I have complete control over it. You can't just sell it, you can't just do whatever you want with it. Like, it's all on me and for me to do with whatever I want to do. And so anyway, she signs that new deal, and now again, between 2006 till about 2018 at this time, all those albums in that range belong to Big Machine Records, basically. And what Taylor was trying to do, even at the time she was signing with the new record label, was like, hey, let me buy my catalog. Let me like take that back. Let me have ownership of it. And I don't know if maybe there was a possibility of that happening, but unfortunately, it did not happen. And so that leads me to the whole debacle with Scooter Braun and what took place there. So after trying to get her catalog, and it's just not for, which is crazy to me that you have to buy things that you produced in the first place. I don't get that. But Scotty decided not to give it to her, but he sold it to Scooter Braun, which in previous seasons of life, from what has been shared, Taylor and Scooter Braun have never gotten along. Taylor has felt like Scooter Braun was a bully. He would completely destroy her work, or he would completely take her work and just make it something that she never meant for it to be. And so she didn't, basically all that to say, she didn't trust Scooter with the catalog that he now had possession of, which Scooter Braun ended up buying Taylor Swift's catalog between 2006 and 2018. And those were a lot of albums, a lot of great songs, and now he had complete control over them, and he could do whatever he wanted with them. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, who the heck is Scooter Braun? Well, I'm glad you asked. To put it shortly, Scooter Braun is a former manager. He's no longer a manager because I need to know that tea because everybody left him, even his wife. But anywho, he was the manager of artists like Demi Lovato, Ariana Grande, and probably most notably Justin Bieber. So he was their manager, and he was the one that bought the catalog of Taylor Swift's albums and deals and all that stuff. And so anyway, Taylor was really upset and mad, as she should be, when she felt like her bully got her catalog and had access to songs that he should never had access to. When she was trying to buy them back herself, but she didn't get them. Somebody else got them. And so after some time probably being upset and sad, which she had every right to do and be mad, I think she came to the realization, maybe even inspired by Kelly Clarkson, because Kelly Clarkson was the one who said, Taylor, re-record your old stuff and make it yours again. Because again, under this new management or under this new deal, she has access and she has the rights to her, it's her catalog. It's all hers. And so she decided, you know what? Screw you, Scooter Braun. I'm going to take my destiny into my own hands. I'm going to take my words back. I'm going to take my songs and what means the world to me back into my hands. That way you don't have that power and you can't do anything with it anymore. And so that's literally what she has been doing, guys, which is just crazy to me. Literally old albums she has been re-recording, which I think is really cool because a lot of especially the country albums, she had just a young voice, and I think she has matured and grown in her vocal ability so much where it's like, I love hearing her old albums with her new, her older, mature voice, which has been making my heart just so happy. So in August of 2019, after the release of Lover, Taylor Swift's like, yep, I'm re-recording all my albums. So currently she has re-recorded Fearless and Red, and then she came out with a new album, Midnight, which is just crazy. She's also re-recorded Speak Now, 1989, and then obviously she just came out with her new album this past April, The Tortured Poets Department. Now I'm hoping that, yes, I know people are waiting for Reputation to come out. I cannot wait for her self-titled album to be redone. I just think it's going to be so good to hear Teardrops on My Guitar with her voice now, and just so good for my heart to hear. Okay, that's a brief overview of her music and her legacy when it comes to music. If I were to take more time, it would take days, it would take months to go over her catalog, her achievements, her accomplishments, her awards. I mean, this girl is just killing it when it comes to music. Fun fact about her music, she's obviously on her Eras tour, which has just been selling out everywhere. Not only is it selling out, but people are literally sitting in parking lots of the stadium to listen to the Eras tour. She's killing it. At the time I'm recording this, she's currently in Dublin, and she has just been literally all over the world. And my thought is, how does this girl keep going the way that she's going? I know she has resources and abilities to get doctors and nutritionists and all that stuff and vocal stuff with her. But the fact that she's touring so much and she's doing not just an hour performance. This woman is doing 3.5 hour performances each night and giving it her all. The videos, because yes, I have not been able to get a ticket, but the videos I've been seeing, the live streams I've been seeing, she's just like no other. It is one of the highest grossing tours ever done. It has grossed over $1 billion already. That's pretty iconic. That is pretty iconic. She's up there with Madonna, which, if you know 80s Madonna, and even, now, Madonna's Madonna. And so Taylor Swift is literally in the ranks of Madonna and so many other great artists who have just broken barriers when it comes to tours and the financial gain of tours. So she's killing it. And also with music, she has 14 Grammys, which is crazy in itself. But did you also know that she's the only artist, not just female artist, but she's the only artist to ever win Album of the Year 4 times? An Album of the Year is the most prestigious Grammy you can win. And again, Grammy in itself is just great and prestigious, but Album of the Year is the creme de la creme of Grammys. And she has 4 of them. The only person to ever do that. So yes, musically, she is just so so killing the game, and I'm so excited to see whatever is going to be next when it comes to her music. But outside of music, there are a couple other things when it comes to like her being the billionaire that she is that I think has poured into her financial gain. One of them being a lot of sponsorships. So she's done sponsorships with Apple, with Diet Coke. A fun one is Stella McCartney. And if you don't know who Stella McCartney is a designer, high-end designer. And if you're like McCartney, well, that sounds oddly familiar. Well, that's because Stella McCartney is the daughter of the iconic Paul McCartney, who was the front lead singer of the iconic Beatles, who was just at a Taylor Swift concert. Like full circle, full circle. This man was part of the Beatles, who sold out concerts, and he's now going to an Eras tour, who is selling out stadiums as well. So it's just a full fun circle moment. But outside of her partnerships and deals that she has, which is obviously, again, raking in money, this woman loves her real estate. She loves investing in real estate, and she has so many places in New York, which, I mean, New York's expensive just in general. This woman has like 3 or 4 places in New York alone. And not only that, I feel like she's generous from what I've read and what I hear with especially like places in New York. I know there was a story that came out a while ago where Gigi Hadid, which is again one of her Girl Squad girlies, which we'll get into in a minute, and her boyfriend, which is Bradley Cooper, they were needing a space just to kind of disconnect and to get away from paparazzi and all the lights. And so Taylor Swift's like, hey, you can have this spot for this time. Another person is Sophie Turner, which if you don't know, Sophie Turner is the ex-wife of Joe Jonas, which we'll get into Joe Jonas in a minute because Joe Jonas and Taylor Swift are connected. But Sophie Turner is a newer good friend, and she was just going through a rough time with the whole Joe Jonas thing. And Taylor's like, hey, you can stay here. So she has a lot of real estate, a lot of money in that. One of my favorite homes, though, is her Rhode Island home. And if you know, you know. It is beautiful, and it's where she's had her iconic 4th of July parties. And I want to get to that in just a minute. But to finish up real estate, not only is it Rhode Island, New York, but she also has multiple places in Nashville, Tennessee area. And then she also has multiple places in like Beverly Hills, LA area. Like one of those is, I mean, millions of dollars. So all that to say, when it comes to her bank account, this girl's killing it. And I'm not mad at that. I think that's great. So going back to Rhode Island and that home, I love that home because I think it's just beautiful and it gives me coastal, warm vibes. And she's hosted her iconic July 4th parties there with her infamous Girl Squad. Now, that leads me to talking about friendships and community. As a mental health therapist, one of the biggest things that I teach and preach is community is everything. When we're in isolation, our mental illness or mental health will really struggle. But when we're in community, we're able to combat and really battle the mental health and mental illness and typically gain ownership or be able to overcome it because we're able to do it with other people around us. I feel like one thing that Taylor Swift has done really well is surround herself with people. Now, has it always been the best people? I don't know. I think, we all go through stages of like, we probably shouldn't have been friends with this person. We probably shouldn't have dated this person. I think we forget sometimes that Taylor Swift is still a human. Yes, she's a millionaire / billionaire. Yes, she's touring. Yes, she's, rich and famous. But at the end of the day, she's still a human who is, going through the developmental stages like most humans are going through. And so that includes friendships. So back in like mid 2000s, if you remember, she would start showing up to red carpets. She would start showing up to these premieres with like a girl squad that was like deep and thick, meaning it was like minimum like 10 people. Now the people who made up this girl squad, again, outside looking in, or who she would show up with, would include Victoria's Secret models, like Carly Kloss and Cara Delevingne. It would include people like Selena Gomez and and Blake Lively and other people that were just like involved in different areas of entertainment. And she would surround herself at like every award show, everything. Whether it's like the Grammys, you would see videos of her dancing with Lorde and Selena Gomez or things like that. And at first people were like, yeah, girl power. But then the narrative started to seemingly change of like, well, now it's being cliquey. Now it's being dismissive, or it's being rude to other people, and you have to look a certain way to be part of the squad. And so I think that she received a lot of backlash when it came to the girl squad. I remember the Bad Blood video. I'm like, that is so iconic. Number one, you have the Olivia Benson, which, fun fact, Taylor Swift's cat is Olivia Benson, which I'm obsessed with SVU. I love Olivia Benson. I love her and Elliot, and they just need to get together, but that's a whole nother issue and video. And so, but you had like people like Mariska Hargitay, Jessica Alba, and then like Cara Delevingne and Selena Gomez, and I think even Zendaya. There's so many people in this video that I loved it. People had a problem with it though, which everybody has their own opinion, that's okay. But all that to say, it seemed like she went from this really big girl squad to really being intentional with her friendships now, which again, that's something we all normally go through, right? In like maybe middle school, high school, college, and maybe even a little after, we tend to have a lot of friends, or, especially extroverts or whatnot. But then when we become adults, we realize what real friendship looks like, and we realize that not everybody we were friends with are going to be friends for life, and that's completely okay. Friend transitions, friendship breakups are completely normal, and we have to normalize that. And so she went from going to all these premieres with all these, girls and women, to now being very intentional with who she surrounds herself with. I think one of the people that have remained is Blake Lively, which I just love that. I love Blake. Now, I will say I could not stand Serena in Gossip Girl, but it had nothing to do with Blake Lively herself. So Blake Lively is married to Ryan Reynolds, and they, I think, have 4 girls. And some of the songs that Taylor has done, Blake's kids have actually been on or have been inspired by Blake's kids. And that to me just shows that there's not just a friendship, but it's like family. Like not family, not just even friends, but like family. And so I think that's a real genuine connection and friendship that she has with him, or that she has with Blake. Because not only are they friends, but Taylor seems to include Blake into all areas of her life, whether it's concerts, football games, the privacy of their own space. And so to me, I think that's a real friend. I feel like Selena Gomez was a real friend. I don't know what that dynamic is anymore. Obviously, this is all outside looking in. Maybe both have just realized we're going to always like love and respect each other, but we're also just on very different paths right now, and that's completely okay as well. Another person that I find is like an interesting friend right now is Brittany Mahomes. And if you don't know, Brittany Mahomes is married to Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback on the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's important because Taylor's current boyfriend and boo is the tight end for Kansas City Chiefs, and Patrick and Travis are extremely close. So Brittany and Taylor have maybe formed some sort of friendship, but I also don't think it's a deep friendship to where Brittany's going to know everything, which again, that's going to take time. And maybe it's also just a friendship of convenience, and not that that's always a bad thing, but a friendship of convenience, meaning, hey, when football season's in, like we're going to hang out because we're together, and it's going to be expected, or it's going to be convenient because we're in the same space. And maybe outside of football season, they're not going to be connecting as much. And that's completely okay. I think sometimes we look down on those friendships of like, oh, because they're not our everything, they can't be anything. And I think we can have friends of all different types and levels and scales and depth and all that. And so that is kind of the breakdown of Taylor's friendships and Girl Squad and where she's at now. Again, she's seemingly transitioned from I need all these friends and, to have the certain look of all these friends, to now being really intentional of who she hangs out with and how she hangs out with them. Again, I think a couple other good friends right now are maybe Gigi Hadid, Sophie Turner, Gracie Abrams, who else? The Haim girls, I feel like I don't know much about them, but she seems to hang out with them a lot too. So the other thing I want to quickly note before we close this out with the boys is I think it's important to note, because I saw this article or people talking about this, I don't know why she always has to hold hands with these girls. I don't know why they always act like teenagers, and these are grown women and they need to act like grown women. I really got frustrated with that narrative because a couple reasons. Number one, I think we expect women to act a certain way at a certain age, and that's not always a fair expectation to have. I feel like, and if anything, the Barbie movie has really hopefully re-brought this to life. you have every right to embrace the inner child. Now, obviously, should we be childish all the time? No. But should there be moments where we embrace that inner child? 100%. And so if she feels more safe, maybe even physically safe, by holding hands with the people that she's with, the girlfriends that she's with, she has every right to do that. They have every right to be giggly and silly and, you know, have girls' night out. Like, I think that's great. But I think with that, I think just even the physical safety of hold my hand because we're about to go through crazy traffic of paparazzi. Because if anything, when Taylor's traveling or walking the street, thousands of people bombard her. And so for her girls to keep up with her, they literally have to hold hands. But not only that, even mentally and emotionally, there's a sense of safety when you're physically touching somebody. And so we don't know if that's her way of grounding or that's somebody else's way. Maybe somebody's coming into Taylor's world who isn't as famous as her, because very few people are. So for them to mentally and emotionally feel safe and secure, they just want to, you know, have that physical contact. So I don't think we need to be judging that or belittling or invalidating or making fun of that. I do think there's a significant need there. So with that being said, let's finish this video out by talking about the boys, the men, the boyfriends, because it's, I think, a big part of her journey and a big part of who she is and a big story that people always love to talk about. So when it comes to dating, I think there's been such a unique take on Taylor's ability or want of dating and her ex-boyfriends. And I say that because there seemed to be so much negativity that surrounds who she's dating, how she's handling the dates, how she's handling the ex, and how she's writing about it and all this stuff. And I never understood that hate or that narrative because I'm like, number one, she was literally teens, 20s, now in 30s. People date. Like, I don't understand why that was such a negative connotation when it came to Taylor Swift. Like, oh, she shouldn't date because she's Taylor Swift, or she should know better because she's Taylor Swift. She's also, again, like I said before, she's also in her developmental stages like a normal human. So she's going to date the bad boy. She's going to figure out and navigate heartbreak. She's going to figure out, wait, I shouldn't have done that and I shouldn't have treated them like that. Just because you're rich and famous does not negate the fact that you also have human ability to learn and grow from seasons, mistakes, heartbreak, and different journeys. And I think we forget that sometimes. And I think because her romantic journeys were just kind of spread out in every single magazine, it was so publicized, I don't think we were fair in the narrative that we gave her when it came to dating. So with that being said, let's talk through some of the guys. And some of them we're going to stay on for just a minute, and some of them we're just going to go right past. The first one is going to be Joe Jonas. As I mentioned, right now, currently, Taylor Swift is friends with Sophie Turner, who is the ex-wife of Joe Jonas, and they have a daughter together. But Joe Jonas and Taylor Swift, I think, were officially seen together in 2008. And I also want to preface, most of these are alleged, and I don't know if many of them were confirmed, because as I mentioned in the intro, she's only confirmed, really confirmed, one or two of these. So anyway, Joe Jonas and her were speculated to be dating in 2008, and this was her first publicized, out there relationship. And at that time in 2008, Joe Jonas was extremely famous as well. He was on Disney. He's part of the Jonas Brothers. Joe is the second oldest. He's between Kevin and Nick. And so his band was killing it at the time as well. So that was pretty publicized, but it was, again, just really short-lived. Then we go into 2009, and the Hannah Montana movie comes out, which I've never liked the show Hannah Montana. Don't come at me. But I was also a little old for it as well. But I actually really liked the Hannah Montana movie. I don't know what it was. But the main love interest in Hannah Montana, which I don't know if he's been in anything else, that's why I'm referring it to Hannah Montana. Lucas Till, he was the main love interest, and him and Taylor started dating for just a brief while because Taylor Swift actually made a brief appearance in the Hannah Montana movie. Fun fact. So then after Lucas Till, she starts allegedly dating Taylor Lautner. Now this one I just love. Number one is Taylor and Taylor, which I think is so sweet. But they were in the movie Valentine's Day together, and Valentine's Day is one of those movies that had 1,000 different celebrities, so it's kind of mediocre. But I loved their parts. They played high school sweethearts, and she was this really over the top, energetic, in love high schooler, and he was this goofy high schooler. And so they were just a cute pair in the movie. And it was alleged that Taylor Swift actually ended up breaking Taylor Lautner's heart, which I think she kind of literally speaks to in Back to December off of her Speak Now album. And it's really cool because I think because Taylor Lautner, from what I've just seen and heard, is just a stand-up guy, that they stayed in each other's life, and Taylor Lautner actually married a girl named Taylor. I'm like, dude, you love Taylor. And so they are now married, have a podcast, and so cute together. But Taylor and Taylor Lautner are actually really good friends, I believe, with Taylor Swift. So there's that connection there as well. And Taylor Lautner was just in a music video for Taylor Swift, literally, I think, just last year. So there's literally no bad blood there, which I love. And so that was Taylor Lautner. Now, I think now it's alleged that Taylor Swift kind of left Taylor Lautner for bad boy John Mayer. Now, I have so much to say on John Mayer, which that's, again, in a whole nother video. But this child had a hold on a lot of women, and I don't get it. But anyway, whole nother video. But apparently they were seen together and were together for a couple months. Her Dear John song is allegedly about him, and when he heard that, he didn't have the greatest response. So moving on, which she seemed to be in her era of let's try older men, let's date older men, because the next one was actually Jake Gyllenhaal, and at that time there's quite a few years in between them. Her and Jake Gyllenhaal, I believe, were about 9 years apart. And again, this is all alleged that they were together and they were dating. And the whole red scarf theory is about Jake Gyllenhaal and one of the most iconic redone songs, I think, the All Too Well 10-minute version with the video featuring Sadie Sink, who I love, is apparently, allegedly, about Jake Gyllenhaal. They end things, and then she ends up having a really short fling with Connor Kennedy, who, yes, is part of the whole Kennedy, like, royalty. I feel like they're American royalty, but also, like, a really sad American royalty as well. But they had a summer quick fling, and that's where I think she really spent a lot of time in Rhode Island. I'm not sure if that's when she bought the house, but that's when she was definitely in Rhode Island the most. Then after Connor Kennedy, we get to Harry Styles, which her and Harry Styles, I think, again, were briefly dating for maybe a short time, again, allegedly. And it's nothing super serious or nothing super deep from what I know. I think there's been some Swifties who have said that there are certain songs or allegations with Harry Styles and her and on a boat and being left behind, all that stuff. I don't know too much about it. So moving forward, she gets into probably what I would consider like her first like serious public relationship, which she confirmed, which is Calvin Harris. Her and Calvin Harris dated between 2015 and 2016, and it seemed pretty serious. Now, I remember though in May of 2016, it was rumored that Taylor Swift and Tom Hiddleston were getting along really well, and I think her and Calvin were still maybe dating or figuring it out at the Met Gala. And so then it was officially over between Calvin and Taylor. And then Taylor Swift starts dating Tom Hiddleston, and Tom Hiddleston actually made it to the 4th of July like party at the Rhode Island home, the iconic 4th of July party. But it was really short-lived. It seemed like one of those relationships, again, outside looking in, it was a lot, it was intense, it was good, but it was fast. And so I think, I don't know if, anything necessarily bad happened, but maybe just the realization, this is just too much, and we're not meant for each other. And then after Tom Hiddleston, she actually gets in what is right now her longest relationship, and that's with Joe Alwyn. Now, I know very little about Joe Alwyn, but what I do know is he is a British actor, I believe. I think he's been in maybe a few movies, but one thing I definitely know is that he is super private, which, again, I want to reiterate, he has every right to privacy. He has every right to not make public what he wants private. With that being said, I think there is a hard time because Taylor Swift is so public and it is so seen and so loved and so, out there, that I think there was a battle that eventually probably ended up leading to maybe part of why they are no longer together. But from what outside looking in, from what I believe and what I see, she tried to live in that private space with Joe to honor and respect him because she truly seemingly loved him. There were even times where she would literally get in suitcases to be rolled out, to get into a car to go see him. That's how private and that's how much she wanted to prove to him, I can be private if that's what you want. I also think though too, maybe she came to a place in herself realizing, yes, I want things that are private, but I also know that I'm a public figure. So I think she maybe wanted that balance of, I can't hide who I am. It's like taking the sun and trying to like, hide it, and it's like it's so bright and so hot, you're gonna burn yourself, and it's impossible to do. And that's just who she is. She's literally the sun. It's hard to hide. It's hard to shy away from. And I think she was realizing that, and he just maybe couldn't come to a place of recognizing it and honoring it and being part of that with her. And so unfortunately, after quite a few years, because they dated between like 2017 and literally to 2023, so they dated for a long time, but unfortunately they eventually called it quits literally at the beginning of her Eras tour. And then we get to a blip in her judgment. We get to Matt Healy, which we're just literally skipping right over because that wasn't long enough or good enough to talk about. And then we get to July of 2023, and a tight end on the Kansas City Chiefs by the name of Travis Kelce ends up going to the concert at the place that he plays football, because that was where the concert was being held. Arrowhead Stadium, that's what it's called. And Travis and his brother Jason have a podcast. So a couple days later, Jason asks Travis about the concert on the podcast, and he's like, "Man, it was so good, it was so great, but I'm kind of sad that I didn't get to give her my number on a bracelet that I made for her." Cute, funny, jokey. And Swifties are good because they're like, in August, like, they're dating. I'm like, how do you know that they're dating? Like, what? And so I didn't believe it until September of 2023, and she literally breaks the internet and like blows up football because she attended a Chiefs game. And I was like, oh, she's going. Like, she's going. And my thought was, wow, she really likes this person. And I know people say it's for PR, which you can believe that. I'm choosing not to believe that. I could be naive. But I remember watching and like, oh, she really likes him. Like, this is Taylor Swift. One of the most famous people in the world. Not just in the U.S., the world. And she's showing up to Travis Kelce's football game, which I don't know if I'm wrong here. But in my mind, Travis Kelce is like well known in football world. Yes, I get that. But outside of that, at that time, I didn't know much. I didn't know him. Not at all. But everybody knows Taylor Swift. Even if you don't like her music, don't like her, you know Taylor Swift. And so the fact that she's coming and he's like, yeah, she's here. Like, I'm not going to try to hide her. I'm not going to try to make her feel like less than, because she is Taylor Swift. And I think one thing I've realized, again, outside looking in their relationship, he's now obviously becoming very public and very seen because he's dating Taylor Swift. I think they're both embracing who they are. So like Taylor Swift's embracing, yeah, Travis Kelce is a goofy, football player, very good football player who's very well known in the football world, but also loves to drink beer, have fun with his family, but is a good guy, deep down, and, attractive and supportive, and vice versa. Travis is recognizing Taylor is literally the biggest star in the world, who is killing it on her Eras tour, who, I'm going to go and support, not hide. I'm going to be in that celebrity box and make sure that she sees me. Because I also think, too, like, when you're dating somebody, when you see them supporting you, there's that realization, or there's that maybe breath of fresh air that you get to take, like, okay, like, I don't have to hide who I am because they are out watching who I am and supporting who I am. And that feeling of confidence is just like it's like no other. And again, you can be rich and famous, but to still feel that confidence from somebody that you are in a relationship with is just, it's priceless. And so all that to say, I think they both embrace each other and embrace what they're meant to do with their life, like within each other. And I think that's what is making this work. Again, I may be naive, but I think he's the one. I think she's in her mid-30s, which, oh my goodness, I can't believe I feel like I've grown up with Taylor Swift. But she's in her mid-30s, and he's, there too, and he comes from a seemingly really good family. I am a huge Kylie Kelce fan, like, huge Kylie Kelce fan, who is married to Jason Kelce, and they have 3 girls now. But just seeing that he comes from a good, strong family, she comes from a good, strong family. They both support each other. They both seemingly have fun together. And they also, I feel like they are figuring out how to keep certain things private and behind closed doors. but they also know when we go out, there's going to be people taking pictures, and we're just going to embrace that too. So I feel like they are finding that healthy balance. And so yeah, I think he's the one. But that's just my 2 cents. Okay guys, this video has been so long and long enough, but I could just keep talking about her because I love her so much. But I hope that you enjoyed today's video. I hope that you enjoyed hearing more about Taylor Swift and my thoughts on her, and just kind of a deep dive on her, because I do think that she's doing something different when it comes to the music genre, when it comes to pop culture genre, when it comes to just, I mean, every genre. I mean, she literally went to a football game and they said like ticket sales went up like crazy. So now she's even literally impacting NFL, which I know not a lot of people love that. Sorry about that. But just anywhere she goes, she makes her mark. And I just hope she continues to make her mark for the good. I hope she continues to walk in confidence, knowing who she is. I also hope she continues to feel a sense of safety from her friends and her close group of community. And, you know, now from her boyfriend, Travis Kelce. I also hope that we learn to continue to just be compassionate and kind, and not assume just because somebody has all the financial resources that they don't have a problem in the world, because sometimes that couldn't be farther from the truth. Money doesn't buy, immunity to problems. And so, yeah, those are my thoughts. This is the end of the video, I promise. I'm so glad that you guys tuned in today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you like all things mental health, therapy, pop culture, reality TV, then this might be the perfect channel for you. And I would be so honored if you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and turn on your notifications. That way you guys are notified when brand new videos are out. Until next time, guys.